Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, November 7th, 2016.
Commissioner Rivas, James, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Lawrence Charisma, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Craig Shaw, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Debbie Pham, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we have not received any public comment cards at this time. No commentary under the neighborhood council and no speaker cards under the regular items for today's agenda.
Okay, then we'll close general public comment as well as the neighborhood council category of commentary. Our first item of business, the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, October 19th, 2016. Is there a second to my motion to approve those meeting minutes by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. We'll start with agenda item. First of all, we have an administrative item this morning. Agenda item number 6. The Mayor's Office has approved and authorized the Board to execute a memorandum of agreement between the City of Los Angeles and the City of Carson, the City of Long Beach, the City of Torrance, and the California Department of Transportation, as well as the Los Angeles County Flood Control District and the County of Los Angeles, for the administration and cost sharing of developing the Contaminated Sediment Management Plan for the Dominguez Channel. It's being returned for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item number 6 forthwith? By Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve agenda item number 6 forthwith. Any? So on general public comment, Mr. Campos.
Mr. President, just for the record, we just received a speaker card. It appears to be a general public comment speaker card.
So
we have
whenever
closed it, but
we'll take the speaker whenever you're ready with the proper equipment. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Agenda item number 1. Bureau of Engineering, Council District 15. Above ground facility ordinance, 1215 East Robideau Street on the Watson Avenue side, recommending that the board first approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the AGF ordinance per Los Angeles Municipal Code section 62.08 VB, and to authorize mobility to install a 51-foot 11-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 1215 East Robideau Street on the Watson side of the lot. Mr. Ledoux on agenda item number 1.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work with Bureau of Engineering Central District. This is a mobility monopole with antenna on top. It is adjacent to 1215 East Robideau Street on the Watson side of the lot. This is in CD15 Joe Buscaino. They are remaining neutral on this at this time. I've received no emails, letters, or phone calls, either pro or con on this particular item, and nobody appealed it.
Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Jeff, as always, thank you for your report, and the packet looks good in terms of the inclusion of the layout of the schematics of the site plan. You know, we have 4 of these issues here from mobility, and I think it would be important to sort of frame the context of these build-outs in general. Jeff, can you kind of preference so that we can be prepared for the rest of the 3 that what mobility is really building out here?
Let's see here. Basically, mobility is building a citywide network of small cell distributed systems, a lot of them in areas where they're underserved. So these are all part of a network. They communicate with other poles. As you see, the first two of these are in CD 15, and then the other are in 3 and 5. And at this point, I have somewhere around 60 applications. There've been a lot in particular council districts because they're sort of building council district by council district out there. And this is, like I said, one of them down there in the harbor area.
Okay. So I understand it to be an infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure, small cell sites that provide coverage and access to telecommunications to different communities, which is important. The build-out is going to be significant, and I appreciate Mobility working with me and you, Jeff, to sort of get through the ordinance and be able to answer questions from local elected officials, different council members, and that's a good process. So I think this is an important thing, and we have 4 in front of, but all 4 help the build-out for mobility. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Commissioner Cento. Jeff, on this agenda item number 1, no responses, no opposition one way or the other.
None whatsoever.
A description of the general area for the placement of this infrastructure?
This is in a residential zone, and as you notice from the photos, it's beside a large church building. So this, a lot of these are in residential. Both the CD15 ones are residential, and I believe, yes, the other 2 are also.
My recollection from the photographs is there are other utility poles not far from them.
There are a number of normal power and communication poles surrounding the areas where this one's being put up, so that the wood pole blends in with the other type of poles that are very common in these areas.
Okay, and no opposition, and the council office has not responded one way or the other, or they've said we're remaining neutral?
They're remaining, basically what we ask of them is if they would let us know if they're either approving it, denying it, or no position on this particular application at this time, and their position is no position on this particular application
no position, right?
at this time.
Okay, well, that happens on occasion. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We can send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Mr. Ledoux, I think you're here on as well. Council District 15, above ground facility variance at 1027 North Pioneer Avenue. Recommending that the board first approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the AGF ordinance pursuant to LAMC section 6208 VB, and second, authorize Mobility to install a 52-foot, 11-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 1027 North Pioneer Avenue. Mr. Ledoux on number 2.
Once again, this is in CD15, and they are taking no position on this application at this time. It's approximately a 53-foot pole in a total residential zone. From the pictures there, you can see on the side of the street there are multiple resident lots, and then across the street there are single-family lots there. I received no phone calls or emails or letters pro or con on this particular application.
And the multiple residential lots on, well, if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, those are unimproved lots, correct?
The ones that the pole is in front of actually has 3 units on the lot. It's like they're small condo complexes because they're individually
numbers
owned.
Numbers 5, 6, and 7, that's an unimproved lot, correct?
Yes, those are, oh, I see across the sheet, there's a large unimproved 3 lots there.
So wouldn't necessarily expect response from them, but owners 1, 2, 3, and 4, no responses from those?
No response, and obviously 1, 2, and 3, it's right in front of them, and lot 4 also can easily see this. And no, I did not receive any responses from the notification sent out both by Mobility and also by the city.
And again, it's not far from an existing DWP pole, according to the photograph.
No, it's not. And so I'm sort of doubly surprised that I did not hear from anybody on this one, but no responses.
Okay, and again, just for the oral record, the purpose of this additional infrastructure?
Is to basically do a distributed system throughout the city of Los Angeles. One of the primary users of that system will be Sprint, who's one of the cheaper cell phone companies in the business. Basically, Mobility doesn't sell to individual customers like you and I. They rent their systems out to other companies to use.
To providers?
To other, yes, end-use providers.
Anything further, Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, President James. And colleagues, I just wanted to point out, and it's included in one of the transmittals, number 3, that all these mobility permits are revocable permits. So if anything needed to be adjusted in the future or removed or changed, that would be sort of the opportunity for the city to redo that or to move that around.
Yeah, I'm sorry to correct. There can be opportunities for changes, but we typically don't look at these as revocable permits like we do when we actually issue something that we call a revocable permit, nor do the permits expire. So as long as they're continuing to use it, they essentially don't need to come back and renew the application. Companies can be responsive when there's concerns raised, and then we can require their relocation when we need to do certain improvements, but we don't look at them like revocable permits like we would other permits.
Once that infrastructure's in the ground?
Yeah, and moreover, because of some changes in federal and state law, once a permit is issued for a telecommunication facility, then there are certain categories of requests that allow them to modify that facility, including making it taller and bigger, and those under federal law are deemed to be eligible facilities requests, which are essentially not discretionary, and they're allowed to. So this first go-around, when we look at a site and we ask the community to provide input and we ask the neighborhood councils if there are any in the council office, this is really our main opportunity to provide that discretionary review and the time, place, and manner authority that we have in regulating the location. Once it's there, though, we should assume it will continue to be there.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Commissioner Cinto. Anything further?
I just wanted to ask what community is it in? 15th
CD 15, Mr. Ledoux?
What community is this in the area in the 15th district? Is it?
That I don't know without access to the total file. Like I said, it's in.
The address we have, obviously, which is
I believe
North
it's in
Pioneer Avenue.
It's in Wilmington.
Wilmington area.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the map is attached. Yes, Commissioner Rivas?
So this type of pole, it can't be co-located onto existing infrastructure or other poles?
Mobility actually co-located around 2/3 of the facilities that they're putting in the city. The ones they've applied for are ones they could not co-locate either because there wasn't a street light available or the poles that were there had too much on them to make it either they couldn't, according to California Public Utilities Code, or it's unsafe for their workers to have to weave their way through all the power lines and stuff like that to get to the antenna on top. You'll notice that all these poles tend to be on the opposite side of the street from where all the mainline trunk poles are, so that they aren't interfering with existing transmission lines.
Okay.
So just to supplement and add to Commissioner Rivas's question, the neighboring infrastructure, in essence, is at capacity.
Say that again?
The neighboring infrastructure that would otherwise be available is at capacity.
Yes.
Okay. And as you had indicated, just again to repeat, much of Mobility's program, they work to co-locate when they could.
Yes, they have. In
Assuming
fact,
it's cheaper for them to do so.
recently, they re-looked at some of their sites that they were going to put on monopoles and did find a few more sites that they're going to co-locate. And like I said, around 2/3 of their sites for the entire build-out were already are going to be co-located.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Anything further? Commissioner Davis, anything further?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Asinto's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? Okay, we'll send number 2 forthwith. Mr. Ledoux, I'm going to have you wait for the conclusion of the meeting because I have a question for you on another item. So because of that, I think I'm going to interrupt and see if we have the equipment available to take our speaker. Mr. Campos, do we?
Not yet. City Council is actually, City Council Audio is bringing the audio equipment
Oh,
for
okay.
us, so it's
Okay,
going to
I
take a
just-
few more minutes.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue, Mr. Ledoux, then. Agenda item number 3. Council District 3, above-ground facilities variance, 8624 North DeSoto Avenue, recommending that the board first approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the AGF ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 62.08 VB, and secondly, authorize mobility to install a 41-foot, 11-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 8624 North DeSoto Avenue. Again, this one is in Council District 3. Mr. Ledoux on number 3.
Basically, like I said, we have a 42-foot pole. It's in a residential zone, although if you look at the overhead picture in the board report, you'll see that it's huge apartment complexes, or I believe that's what they are, huge apartment complexes where this is being placed. It is in CD3 Bob Blumenfeld. They are basically no position on this application at this time, and once again, I received no letters, emails, or phone calls, either pro or con, on this application, nor any appeals.
Anything further? Commissioner Rivas on agenda item number 3.
So this is near an apartment complex, you said?
Yes,
right?
it is in fact in front of an apartment complex.
Are letters sent only to the owner or to the occupants of these units?
They, according to the current municipal code, which we call the AGF ordinance, we are only required to, or let me put it, we can either send a notification to apartment or condo management, or we have to send it to each of the individual units. Currently, we tend to send, both the applicant and the city tends to send it to the management company. And then it's the management company's responsibility to disseminate that amongst their tenants. The revised ordinance will change that. We will no longer be able to notify condo or apartment management. We will be notifying individual units in the revised ordinance, but not currently.
Okay, so, but that is going to
Commissioner
change.
Asinto, I will say this on at least one of these, I think the last one, asked me to call up these management companies, and there was 2 of them which I was able to go online, find out who the management company is, and call them. And I will say that the 2 that I called, you cannot get a live person. You get an electronic voice system. I did leave a name and number and told them who I was and what I represented, and received no calls back from them.
Commissioner Davis?
In terms of public policy, the new change that we are going to have enacted, is it a state initiative or is it a council ordinance, or what is it that motivated us to change it?
Motivation, well,
I can speak to that.
Okay.
We've submitted a revised AGF ordinance to the City Council, so it's in the consideration process right now. One of the specific changes that the council asked us to make was to change the notification pattern. So the notification process includes the owners and occupants. So in a case like this, or in any case, it goes to the physical address, plus if the owner of the property is located somewhere else, as is often the case, then a notification goes to the owner as well. However, even under the current process, the council district office is notified, as well as any neighborhood council that covers that area. So in this case, according to the report, the Winnetka Neighborhood Council was notified. So any of these council office, neighborhood council, if there's a homeowners association that we're aware of, and sometimes we're not aware of them. These are all additional means to allow the individual, say, occupants of an apartment to receive notification.
So when will it be that we'll have to change our practice to also include the other apartment dwellers? In the future?
That ordinance is under review right now by the city council. I mean, it's a complicated ordinance, so I'm not sure when they will adopt that. I mean, it's making a number of other changes.
Okay.
At the same time that ordinance has been under consideration by the city council, there's been various aspects of federal and state law that have also been in flux. So I think with a recent decision that just came down from the California Court of Appeals, we're probably in a good position now to actually move forward with the ordinance being adopted. But right now, it's under review.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? I'll make a motion on number 3. We adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issues sending number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Agenda item number 4, above ground facilities variance, 11131 West Rose Avenue, Council District 5, recommending that the board approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the AGF ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 62.08 VB, and second, authorize mobility to install a 59-foot, 2-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 11131 West Rose Avenue on the Sepulveda Boulevard side of the lot. Mr. Ledoux, on number 4. And before you start on number 4, we have representatives from Mobility that are here today, correct?
Yes, we do.
What I might want to do during this discussion on number 4, it would apply to all 4 of them. But I think it would help, just for the oral record, to get just a brief statement or two from them describing the demand that exists as technology advances in the city for the services that they're providing through this infrastructure. So it provides a bit of an understanding as to why they're making the requests that they are, recognizing that 2/3 of their requests are co-location, but it's still being driven by additional demand that's available for their services that's resulted in 1/3 of these over time coming into our Board of Public Works for approval. So go ahead, sir.
Like I said, this 59-foot pole, it is in CD5 Paul Corretz. They have chosen to have no position on the application at this time. As you can tell from the overhead pictures in the board report, once again, this is in a large apartment complex area, and in fact is near the corner of a large complex. This is the one where I did call 2 of the management companies of the 2 major ones here and received no reply back from them. I have no phone calls, emails, or letters from anybody pro or con on this one, and nobody appealed it. Normally, if you're going to get a comment from a council office, it's because they've heard from their constituents and therefore do make some sort of appeal to us to see if there's some sort of compromise or change in aesthetics we can make. Normally when you get this kind of position out of them, it's because they did not hear from their own constituents.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for, again, no response on this, included the additional attempt to reach out to the owners. Before we vote on this, could we have one of the representatives from Mobility come up just for a few minutes? Hi.
Hi. My name is Shannon Nichols, and I am the Senior Permitting Manager for the City of Los Angeles for Mobility. You caught me a little off guard.
I thought I might have done that. So let me tell you kind of what I'm looking for. Sure. And if you all want to make more of a formal presentation next time around, that's fine. Okay. We might attach it to maybe the next agenda item. What I wanted to get a sense of briefly was this infrastructure is going in some places around the city. Mr. Ledoux did a fine job of explaining how 2/3 of the work is being co-located, 1/3 are being mostly wood monopoles. But I just wanted the record to have, and we don't have any of the objections from the council office or the neighborhood councils. So I just wanted the record to reflect kind of what types of services will be provided through this additional infrastructure. Are we going to get faster internet? Are we going to get better cell service? So that parents can get to their kids, all kinds of things like that. What kind of infrastructure technology is driving the permit requests that your company is seeking?
So this is mainly to enhance broadband, which is going to be your smartphones, your smart houses, your driverless cars that are coming in the future. And right now we probably use about a tenth of what's going to be happening in 5 to 10 years from now. If you think about that, we use our smartphones a lot right now for emails, to text your family, to work, to use Facebook and your GPS. A tenth of that is what we're using now to what will be happening in 5 to 10 years. So that's a huge exponential growth. And what we're trying to do now is get ahead of the game, because wireless in the past has been notorious for seeing problems and then fixing them after the problems were there. So this is enhancing 4G technology and then the 5G technology that's coming in 5 years probably. And if you think about it, the driverless cars, there's just a couple. Tesla's got a couple on the road right now. There's not very many. But if you think about in 5 years, if 10, even 20% of the cars are driverless, we don't have the technology, we don't have the infrastructure to keep that safe, to keep people safe on the road. And that's just one example of what's happening.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the additional input. Commissioner Cento.
President James, I would support that. Maybe they could come in at a little bit more formal presentation. This is fascinating.
Right. Recognizing we caught you off guard, I just saw you in the back of the room. I thought I'll ask a question or two.
I would love that, especially because I would like everyone to know what they're voting for and feel comfortable with what they're voting for. I think that would be a great idea.
Right. Thank you. So, Mr. Ledoux, you can work with them as you work with them regularly to kind of get, as we, with the next permit application, perhaps more, maybe we'll add to it and agendize it even a presentation based on what this infrastructure supports. Any further questions for Mr. Ledoux on agenda item number 4? There were no objections on or opposition received on number 4, Mr. Ledoux?
No objections.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Cento. Any objection here on the board? No objection here. We'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? All right, we'll send number 4 forthwith. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, a motion recommending that the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis, approving the request of Thrifty Tree Service Incorporated for subcontractor substitution of IECLT Incorporated with Thrifty Tree Service Incorporated for tree trimming work in connection with the tree trimming in the parkways of Lankershim Boulevard from Victory Boulevard to Sylvan Street and other certain streets project. And Mr. Smith, are you here? Oh, there you are.
Yes. Good morning, Chris Smith, Bureau Contract Administration, General Services Division. The Bureau received a request from Thrifty Tree Service on September 15, 2016 to substitute IECLT Inc., their DVBE subcontractor for tree trimming, with their own forces. Their request included a letter from IECLT Inc. withdrawing from that portion of the work. The bid listed amount for IECLT was $31,796.65. They actually performed $6,109.40, leaving a difference of $25,687.25. Thrifty Tree Service will complete that portion of the work for that amount, so this substitution will be at no additional cost to the city, and the Bureau concurs with Commissioner Davis's recommendation to approve this substitution.
Any questions on agenda item number 5? I don't have any questions on agenda item number 5. I'll take that as a motion from Commissioner Davis. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. Thank you. Before we get to agenda item number 7, Mr. Campos tells me that we are ready for me to open general public comment for our speaker card?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great, thank you. Ma'am, Rosalie Hant, it looks like? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You can bring the microphone to her. Oh, there we go. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here. I plead for an opportunity for justice. We're being so severely swindled, totally swindled. I have documents from the city proving that I'm right. What happened is total. We have a vacant lot. We have it 20 years. It's always clean, always without weeds. So a homeless person was on it. I didn't tell the homeless person to be on it. I don't even live near there. So all I want is that the illegal dumping should pick it up. For the past few months, they put us through the most vicious hell. Every time I call up the sanitation, they give me a compliance number that they're going to do it on a Tuesday. Then when I call up, some people tell me it's done and some people tell me it's not done. Now I find out that they put a note on it to never do it. One of the men, Daniel called me up and he says, because you're concerned, I'm going to even call you back after I do it. And then they called back and said, one day, 10:45 in the morning, they picked it up. They never pick it up, but besides that, they're doing a swindle, and what they want to end up, I should be the one to pay for it. Every kind of swindle. First of all, twice in the past few months, I had it cleaned. And before I had it cleaned the second time, in the beginning of October, I called up and I said, the second guy said he's not going to take it away. What should he do with it? So they told me exactly what to do. And even the stuff that they put in the bags, they tied it properly. And sometimes, so the people from the sanitation said, we didn't pick it up because it's in the alley.
2 minutes.
Then they have somebody put it back on the property. They didn't do it because it's on the property. And with the illegal dumping, they tell me it's done, and it's never done. I have this brochure. I have the brochures from the city. They do it for free. Would you like I should pass the brochure to you?
We're familiar with it, ma'am.
I don't hear.
We're familiar with the brochure.
I don't hear you.
I don't need it.
But you know it.
Yes, I know it.
Especially number 14.
Okay.
But what they're doing, even when they wrote me a letter, clean the lot. The lot was cleaned a few months before. So I don't argue, I clean it again. Then he says to me, I want you to pay for taking it away. I say, but it says that I could have it done for free. No, he says, I'm going to tell them not to pick it up. That's why they don't pick it up. I have about 10 confirmations that they're going to pick it up. And one guy says to me who works with the sanitation, he says that if I sign papers, that I could have, his people come to my house, that he should get paid. They'll clean it up. I didn't sign it for sure. It's so terrible. Please.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I know that you're an honorable person. I know you like justice because I used to listen to you on the radio all the time. You used to keep me up all night because you're so good.
You're the one. I knew we would find the person that stayed up with me at night. So, ma'am, you've left me with your address, correct? Is this 3356 address?
But that's not the address of the property.
I need the address of the property. So, the address, I'll write this down, and I'll send the card back to you, and you can write the address of the property, okay?
But you know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
They're doing a deliberate swindle, and then they'll pick it up one day and bill me thousands of dollars.
Okay. Yeah. Would you hand that so she can write down the address? Rosalie, would you write down the address of the property for me, please?
The property has no weeds. Oh, one more thing I want to tell you. I called the police department, and they said that they'll come by every day and check it, and they wouldn't let the illegal, homeless to be on there.
Okay. Would you, if you would write down the address of the, not your home address, but the address of the property?
But while I'm talking to you, the lot cleaners deliberately will have somebody come and pick it up and charge me thousands of dollars. Because even the girl that works there, Lizette, who's a nice girl, she said that they want you to pay for the illegal dumping.
So if you'll write down the address of the property, I'll have someone at the Bureau of Sanitation that I'll work with, and Street Services, both, look into the issue together, so we can understand what's going on and get a response back to you. And if the city needs to provide the service, I'll personally make sure that they provide the service.
Every single thing they told me to do, put it on the alley, I put it on the alley.
Okay.
Take it off and then one of the guys said, "I'm doing you a favor. You put it on the alley, we could get you for illegal dumping." But I didn't tell him he could have gotten for illegal dumping because he dumped it on my property.
Well, we'll have our investigation unit look into it, ma'am.
But one thing I want to beg.
Final point, yes, ma'am.
That they don't pick it up and charge me thousands of dollars.
We'll have our bureaus look into it, man. That's what I can do.
That's the main thing. I don't want them to pick it up and charge me thousands of dollars. Because I could give you the names of the people that cleaned it up within the past few days.
Are they city people?
Huh?
Are they city employees?
I don't hear you. The people who cleaned it up.
Or were they hired by you?
Pardon me?
Were they hired by you, or were they city employees?
I don't hear one word you're saying.
Okay, so why don't you've been in touch, instead of taking everybody's time in public time, why don't you write down your phone number? And my office will schedule someone to talk with you more individually, okay?
Want to hear something? I tried to call your office so many times, and they said, "No, you can't speak with Kevin." The girl said she's in charge, and I said, "So could I have the date of the meeting? I'll be there." She says, "No, the meetings, nobody could be at the meeting, never." But I want you to tell you one person who's super nice. I don't want you to think it's her. Diana Williams is very nice.
Well, thank you. So, and I can't imagine anyone saying that somebody can't come to a public meeting. That doesn't happen in our office. But thank you for so we have your information.
Wait a minute. I'm going to give you the address.
That's what I need, the address.
But in the meanwhile, nobody's going to come and pick it up and charge me thousands of dollars.
I need the address, ma'am. I have to look into it. I can't sit here in a vacuum and not know.
And you want to know when I called originally, before the guy came the second time to clean it up, I said that lot cleaners said that I'm not allowed to have it picked up. When I called sanitation, she says, "Not true, you could have it picked up. That's why you pay assessments on your tax bill."
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Please write down the address for me. Thank you.
I check everything out thoroughly before because I can't pay for their craziness.
Understood. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Rosalie. And also for general public comment, Mr. Spindler?
Wait,
Let her write down her address.
we have the lot over 20 years. And you know what? If they bother us, we'll gladly sell it, not to have a headache with them.
If you could just write down the address, ma'am. We have somebody else who also has a card to speak.
I don't hear you.
If you could write down the address, we have someone else that has a card to speak.
Okay, thank you. West. Harbor. City.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Come on. You can hand the card to Mr. Smith.
Hi.
Mr. Spindler.
And the police.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. We'll contact you. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. I beg you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please save us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Spindler.
Are you familiar with this?
Oh, yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were the best one on the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Spindler, the microphone is yours, sir.
Very good, a day of reckoning. Tell them what happened today.
They came out today on South Coronado and they're removing the homeless encampment.
Very good, right? Now, he was out there grazing, because he's a little goat. Right. So I go outside this morning. I walk down behind my building, and as I'm leaving around 9, I see a whole bunch of Department of Sanitation trucks and a police department truck and a car. So 2 years, they're finally removing the structures. Why? Because I said to Gil Cedillo at a meeting recently, you're doing this on purpose just to try to get Measure JJJ and all that bullshit passed, and that's why you're bringing all of these homeless people west and north, all the way to the San Fernando to Korean Valley, to the Korean neighborhood. So now tomorrow's the election, now they're starting to clean it up. See, it's all a scam. All of these encampments you see was done on purpose. These people were moved on purpose so they could be seen by the most people possible for political gain. Now I get a letter from the state bar, somebody's fucking with my license again. This time they got a person to perjure themselves 4 different times on the letter. That's why I'm here today. I thought we had this understood. You wanted me to work. I went back to work. Now you don't want me to work. Now you want me to bring back puppets. So which is it? Am I going to get my settlement and be allowed to work? Or am I going to lose my fucking license and be here all day, every day, for 365 days bringing puppets? I want to work, but if they're going to fuck with me, I can't work, right? So I had to get up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and conduct a 7-hour fucking investigation, which I completed 20 minutes ago, to determine the bullshit. And that's what we're going to be doing with the puppet.
2 minutes.
Fuck this election, no on JJJ.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. And on number 7, Mr. Cirillo. That's all for general public comment. We'll close general public comment. Mr. Campos should. Yeah. Agenda item number 7, oral report. Oh, Mr. Spindler, you have a card on number 7? This is on our construction services contract, quarterly status update from the Bureau of Engineering. Mr. Spindler on number 7.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the usual thing. Graft, money. And particularly what's really nice is I finally found out what these Democratic clubs are all about, which is this is great. So as we sit here today, you got all these buses coming in from out of the city and out of the county, and they got all of these people, and they bus them in and they get them to vote on provisional ballots and mail-in ballots, and then they go to the next county and the next city and rig all these goddamn elections. I finally figured out why all those buses are in there. All that early voting in Las Vegas. Guess what? At the Mercado in Las Vegas, a friend of mine that works with a certain person on the TV, he got some nice video of all of that fake voting shit. So we're picking up on what all this Democrat frontier and all this bullshit club is. See, Trump doesn't have a club. I don't have a club. The puppet doesn't have a club. Because if you work, you don't need a club. But if you're involved in something that needs taxpayer dollars and you need to overcharge, you need a club. Because it takes a village. That's what she meant, Hillary. It takes a village to give somebody $550 million cash, which is what they have right now. And is anybody going to do anything about it? The FBI is out of business. The Department of Justice is on vacation. So the Dow's up 300 points because Hillary's up 4 points. But you mark my words, if Mr. Trump wins tomorrow, all this bullshit is over. So I would suggest we hold this over till Wednesday, not Friday. We're observing Veterans Day. But let's hold this over till Wednesday to see what happens with this election. Because this election is going to be real important. Because if Trump wins, then Mr. James, you're going to get yourself a cabinet post. If Hillary wins, then you know what you're going to do. I ain't going to say it here, but your fans on the radio are going to hear you back again. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Mr. Cirillo on number 7.
Good morning. Mike Cirillo with the Bureau of Engineering, here to give the quarterly report on our construction services contract, otherwise known as Cisco. So the Cisco contract, we've been using it for a number of years now, and it really provides an expedited way for us to accomplish critical construction projects. Traditional projects will go through the normal 6-month bid and award phase. But for projects that are urgent, we tend to like to use Cisco because it allows us to mobilize forces quicker and resolve issues. So
Cisco's an acronym, not a company in this instance, correct?
Yes, it is.
Of sorts, yes.
Yeah, construction services contract. We not to be confused with the billion-dollar router company.
Right.
But we do competitively bid Cisco at the outset.
Mr. Ledoux, I'm good. You can go. Unless were you waiting to see me? Oh, okay, that's fine. I thought
he just wants to hear me talk.
As we all do, Mike. Go ahead, sir.
We do competitively bid Cisco at the outset. There is a competitive process that allows us to select the contractor that's going to give us the best value after they take out all their markups. Once that contract's awarded, it's good for a period of 3 years with a ceiling amount of $12 million. So the sanitation has really been appreciative of the responsiveness. And the other benefit to Cisco is because you have a contractor there for that 3-year period, they tend to get to know the facility, they tend to get to know the players, and it just makes their job that much easier when they're at a facility for 3 years versus bringing a new contractor in every week or every month. There's some benefit in having that consistency of having a contract there for a 3-year period. We use Cisco for the wastewater treatment plant program as well as service on the odor scrubbers and the pump stations as well. Now you should have a report in front of you, so I'm going to direct your attention to the second page, which is sort of a status update. So the contract expires in April of 2018. As I mentioned, it's a 3-year contract. We have expended about 52% of the time, and that's tracking very well with the money because the money is about 53% expended out of the $12 million. And if you look at the MBE, WB, OB utilization, we are doing very well. We are positive in all categories except one, really, I think have made great strides in putting up good numbers in those various categories. And I have to credit my team. Really, they get the credit for this. They're the ones that are negotiating these scopes of work with the Cisco contractor. They're the ones that are urging them to bring in the minority and the women-owned businesses and the small businesses. So really my staff gets the credit for pushing the contractor to venture out and find these companies that can help us.
And Mike, those numbers are good, as you indicate. Even the one, though, where on the emerging business enterprise that's off, I mean, with progress in the other areas, with a broad term of an emerging business enterprise, you're going to be picking up some of that benefit anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
when you do it with small business enterprise.
Yeah, I mean,
and all the others.
small businesses a certain size. Emerging is even smaller than that. What we find is because this is wastewater type work, we can't always find businesses that are in all those.
Or that small.
Oh, that small that help out. Yeah. So that's the only category that's suffering. The rest of them are doing very well. And if you look at the scopes of work below, where it says 6 months look ahead, you can see that Cisco really provides an opportunity for a variety of work, everything from HVAC to roofing to mechanical work to electrical work. It's really a broad scope, so that allows us to outreach across a vast degree of companies to try to find help. So then the last page is really just an accounting exercise. It's just kind of how we got to the numbers in case there's any questions. This shows on the top section there, all the Cisco task work orders that have been issued for over 100,000, in which we have come to board to receive authority to award those. And then the table below, the larger list of projects, is the ones that are under 100,000, which the city engineer has the authority to award those directly to the Cisco contractor. So really that's it for my report, and I'll take any questions.
Anything at all, Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, President James. Mike, great report. Thank you and the team. Who's the team that works with you? You mentioned in terms of negotiating.
So Sean Kenny runs my construction management group, and then Rick Andelin actually is the one that manages our Cisco contract, and he's the one. Sean and Rick are really the ones that put forth the effort to negotiate these scopes of work. They urge the contractor to get multiple quotes, and I've been putting pressure on them, and they've been putting pressure on the contractor to really try to bring in a variety of proposals from contractors and not just go with one or two. So.
Great, Mike. Thank you for that leadership on that. We'll be sure to touch base with Sean and Rick too, and also we're at 53%, so there's an opportunity even to grow those numbers even more, exceeding the goal, the levels. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cinto. Anything further? Thank you. The oral report will be received, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.